Hi, I'm Arthur, and this is a bit of a shake-up of the established formula, wouldn't you say? I mean, talk about striking the anvil while it's kind of cooled down. Yeah, sorry, I had to play through the game, and I'm bad at games, but I just felt like I could add something vaguely new to the discussion of the game, and wanted to make a few jokes along the way. So for those of you who don't know, I stream every Tuesday. It's more or less just an excuse for me and the boys to sit around and play a game I've been meaning to, but also feel like I'm accomplishing something at the same time. It's pretty fun. So we decided to play through Boltgun this time, and much to what everyone else has been saying, this game kicks ass. It kicks a lot of ass. I am awful at any game that requires any degree of skill or task management in an on-the-fly manner, but fuck me, is this game awesome. It gripped me from the first minute I started playing, and I genuinely enjoyed it. There. That's my opinion. It's a good game, go play it. But I will say I do have some minor complaints with the game that I will air out later. So for those who sleep under a rock, don't play video games, and probably have very few friends, Boltgun is GW realizing something they probably should have a long ass time ago. That Space Marines and Doom go together like peanut butter and jelly. So they decided to make a neo-retro movement-based shooter with a lot of callbacks to classic shooters. I wouldn't go as far to say it's a boomer shooter because that is kind of incorrect. It's incorrect in the same way referring to Shakespearean dialect as Old English is. Where, yeah, I guess it is incorrect because it's technically referred to as early modern English, but no one really cares about being that pedantic about pretty much anything. For lack of a better way to describe it, it has more in common with something like Quake 3 than it does with OG Doom. Which is funny because modern Doom, like Doom 2016 and Eternal, have more in common with Quake 3 also, so I guess it all just kind of evens out at some point. It's high mobility with the ability to swap between 7 or 8 weapons, each one having a designed purpose that is pretty easy to understand. Quick rundown of them. Boltgun, your workhorse. This weapon will one-shot weak enemies and make you feel powerful. It was done justice. Speaking of being done justice, the shotgun in the game feels exactly the same as the shotgun on the tabletop. Kinda pointless in comparison to the Boltgun. It was really useful in some tight corridor areas, that's about it. Plasma gun is your missile launcher. Slow-moving, high-damage projectiles. The heavy bolter is the best gun in the game. Seriously, when I first got this gun, it was the most inherently sexual feeling I've ever felt towards mass violence in my entire life. Hi, editor Arthur here. I was going through the video and I forgot to mention the Vengeance launcher. It's a grenade launcher that fires grenades that stick to things and does a decent amount of damage. It's also a rotary grenade launcher. Okay, back to the video. The Meltagun is your super shotgun, but also can incinerate in a straight line pretty decently far. It surprised me. The Volkite Caliber is weird. It's a beam weapon doing moderate damage, and then the Grav Cannon is the BFG of the game. Another beam weapon that does a ludicrous amount of damage, which is kind of weird because on the tabletop, the Grav Cannon isn't really that good. I expected more like a las cannon or some shit to be the BFG. Regardless, they all function well, aside from the shotgun being a bit underwhelming. And my favorite little bit is that there is a weird mechanic in the game, where there is strength and toughness. Every enemy health bar in the game has a toughness rating that corresponds with the miniature on the tabletop. Your damage is amplified by the strength of your weapons depending on how it matches up with that toughness. So if you're familiar with the tabletop, if the strength is equal, the damage is normal. If the strength is higher than the toughness, then the damage is slightly boosted. If the strength is double the toughness, then it is going to do a ludicrous amount of damage. Same goes for the inverse. If the strength is less than the toughness, less damage. Strength is half the toughness, it does significantly less damage. If you don't play the tabletop, don't worry. Just know it's super cute and fluffy. It makes the shotgun almost useless at the late stages of the game when you're fighting great unclean ones and fucking blight drones. So, I suppose that's as good a segue as I can muster to get into my criticisms of the game. Do keep in mind, I don't really play many games, especially ones that require a depth of skill to actually play. First one, why the fuck is there no goddamn map in the game? That has been common practice for fucking video games of every kind for the last 20 years. I don't think it's unreasonable for me to ask for something like an auto map. It's a good invention. I don't know the logistics of making one, but there were so many times in the game where I was so fucking confused where to go that, like, it just would have helped, is what I'm saying. Aside from that, the gameplay loop is satisfying, but if it were any less satisfying, I would likely have gotten a bit bored. The game is very repetitive, to the point where by the end of the first third of the game, you have probably seen every enemy, and from what I've heard, you can actually unlock every weapon in the first third of the game if you're good at secret hunting, which, evidently, I am not. I had, like, maybe 3 of the weapons by the end of part 1. I'm bad at games. People kept saying I'm not, but I'm bad at games. The game's difficulty is another issue that I have, where it is very much numerically based. Where instead of providing newer challenges towards the end, in the last third of the game, they simply throw more and more of the same at you, but in greater numbers. The final boss fight was kicking my ass, like you wouldn't believe. I was having a great time, don't get me wrong, but it's like 30 different demons summoned at the same time every 5 seconds, a great unclean one, a fucking Lord of Change. Oh, and the sorcerer is now toughness 8 for some fucking reason, so your Boltgun is gonna do dick all damage to him. It became pretty hectic, but this pales in comparison to my main criticism, the main thing that I didn't like about the game. This guy. Ooh, I hate this guy. I hate this guy with a passion. It runs at you, takes a quarter of your health per swing, runs faster than you can, and if you kill it, there's a chance it revives a few seconds later. Sure, you can prevent that by jibbing the body, but it takes a shitload of damage. And I feel I died more times to not fully noticing there was one behind me and like half my health is gone in a second than I did actually from any other enemy in the game. It's an enemy to level out your ammo and health resources so you don't get too overconfident, which in my opinion gets really fucking frustrating in the game. As I mentioned, I am not that good at fast-paced games, so to the aspiring champion, I wish you a very get fucked with a rusty pipe. Those are mostly all my criticisms. I think the game feels good, and I think it's a good sort of sequel to Space Marine, which is getting an actual sequel soon. Now, you might be thinking, hey Arthur, what exactly is the lore to this game? You're the lore guy. What is the significance? To which I say, there's fucking lore? Dude, I couldn't read a single fucking thing from the corner of the screen because if I looked away for longer than 5 seconds, Dickwit McFuckernugget over here would rip my asshole out and wear like a fancy hat. From what I could tell, it's one Stern Guard veteran, crazy motherfucker, going through the planet of Gaia, which is the planet from Space Marine, clearing up any issues that were left there by Titus and murder fucking anything in his way, which basically constituted an entire Chaos army. His entire squad died except for him in the process just before he got to work, but it ends with the Chaos Rift being opened on the planet itself, where a magical power source is being used to do so. Keep the rift open, more demons come out, you know. He ends up closing the rift, and everyone's happy. The Inquisitor that was working with him says, we're not done here, Space Marine. Load your bolt gun and get the fuck to business. Because they're going to be selling a DLC later that's likely going to be Khorne-based or Khorne and Slaanesh, which I'm kind of hyped for because those are pretty cool. Okay, there's no real amazing things to be seen here, but fuck me, there doesn't have to be. People often conflate that a 40k piece of media has to have some kind of relevance to the lore in some way, shape, or form. It has to push the setting forward in a way. Foregoing if something in a book or a game is good in favor of building the setting a little bit further. This game probably honestly does harm to the setting, if I'm being completely fair, but it's so fun that I don't give a shit about the lack of lore and the fact that it makes no goddamn sense that a single Space Marine can wipe out an entire army. There are probably more Black Legionnaires dead by my hand in this game than there are Black Legionnaires in the entirety of the written fiction of the universe. You should play the game. It's pretty cheap, and for a short game, it's pretty much everything you could ask for in a 40k property, except maybe a Terminator-based first-person shooter with the soundtrack from Mick Gordon. No, that doesn't fucking count. Sit down. So, what do you guys think of Boltgun? Think it was fun? Think it was stupidly difficult? Think this guy deserves death by every disease known to man? I certainly fucking do. Let me know in the comments. I want to talk about this game. I'm pretty hype after playing it, and I'm pretty eager to discuss it. Also, remember to like and subscribe. Lastly, as per the usual, a special thanks to my channel members for supporting me. You are the Stern Guard vets to save me in my time of need. And before I go, I just want to say, it's kind of weird that the Stern Guard veteran in this game wasn't Primaris, considering they just released new Primaris Stern Guard veterans and are axing off the old ones. Kinda seems a little fucking stupid if you ask me. I am in fact salty about the Firstborn kit being removed. I wanted them for my Minotaurs, and they look fucking dumb. I responded, yeah, probably. What did you hope to accomplish with that?
Yeah, like what are you supposed